Hello, my name is Megan, and I'm here to speak about my cultural immersion project. I did my population on Hinduism, and I covered three different populations for religion, language, and social class. Hinduism is a culture that has been around for many years. It is also known as one of the oldest religions known to historians. Hinduism is commonly associated with the human population in Nepal at about 70 to 85 million followers, it's also practiced outside of India with about 60 to 70 million whom follow this religion. The root of Hinduism has no historical founder yet, with any historical text. And later on, I'll mention that a lot of the historical text that was found or that most Hindus use for this religion, it is written in Sanskrit, which is one of the oldest language systems in India. And so that's a lot of what Hindi is what it's based off of. So let's start with religion. So Hinduism is a religion. Their worship and practices are very important. They're acted out in a specific manner. One of the most common ones that most people know about is when they interact with their deities, also known as a god. There's different gods. A lot of them represent different things, and then the way they worship is they go to a temple, and instead of worshiping just such as praying and that's it, they bring things like jewelry, coins, all kind of tokens to give to their gods to show appreciation. It's the most common knowledge among most people in the U.S. or around the world know about Hinduism. And so we're going to move on to four beliefs that are the core beliefs of Hinduism. A belief of many gods, and yet they are seen as manifestations of a single unity. These deities are linked universal and natural processes. The belief that universal law is the cause and effect, which is karma and reincarnation. The belief that there is a possibility of liberation that can be released by endless cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. I speak about that in one of the films I've seen, which is funny because I seen the film a while back, just out of boredom on Netflix, and the film is called Karma. So it's about a lady who she basically expresses what karma is. But let's save that for later, and we'll move on to language. So language is another population that I chose. In Hinduism, it's very important. The language is most commonly spoken as Sanskrit and Tamil. I addressed it as that's one of the most common. Sanskrit is a common language, and it's the oldest language known to the tongue of Hindu. Sanskrit is the language of ancient India. This word means cultured and refined. It is the classical language of Hinduism and is the oldest systematic language in the world. Sanskrit is an extremely successful language in India, and is the language of countries under India's influence. All historical text is written in Sanskrit. The next thing I addressed was social class. Social class is described as a caste system. It has four branches, actually five, and they're very similar to Plato's ideal society and philosopher of warriors and commoners. The caste system is based upon the division between family, lineage, and occupation. The caste system is divided up into the following four categories. Brahmins, which is the class that is the highest, and they're entitled to study the Vedas. The Brahmins perform rites and rituals for themselves and for others, and they're allowed to observe the sacraments. They're between God and man. They're one of the ones that are the highest ones. The next one is Kshatriyans. It's a warrior class, and they're more of the protectors. They protect the people, so they're second. They're not the highest, but they're almost. They're protectors. They bestow gifts to the Brahmins, offer sacrifices to the gods, just and abstain themselves from sensual pleasures. So almost similar to Buddhism. Buddhism has the same belief, but except this is just they're more so looked as a protector, someone you can take serious. Okay, so Vaishyas. This class is made of merchants and peasants. This is one of the lower classes. This class is expected to tend to animals as well as the land. And, they're allowed to perform rituals. However, they are not allowed to marry outside their caste. So they're not allowed to marry anyone higher than whom they are. Since they're number 3, they can't marry someone 1 or 2. Or 4 or 5. They have to marry someone inside their caste. Chandras, this is the labor class whose only duty is to serve other 3 castes. So their duty is to serve the 3 castes above them. They're more so like servants. They are not allowed to observe any Vedic rituals or samskaras. Chandalas are the lowest. They were called Chandalas and impure. So they're impure. They're not important at all. They're the lowest of the low. Because of their gory religious practices. They're treated as untouchables. They're just unclean. And so, my experiences. So my personal experiences with Hinduism, or just certain events that occur within Hinduism, was Diwali. I work as a kindergarten teacher, and one of my first events I attended on my first day of work, but it wasn't really work, it was more so like a sit-in, was Diwali. Diwali is known as like a festival of lights. It's the same thing. Basically, people go out, they celebrate, almost like kind of a new year, but they're just celebrating lights. At our place, we had food, we had lights set up a certain way. So the kids, there's a vast majority of Hindus at my school. A lot of the children are from the Hinduism religion, and so we decided to incorporate Diwali as something to celebrate, so that the parents can also feel that the kids are learning a lot about their religion. Next. The interview. I interviewed a young lady named Kavya. She is a sweet girl. She is over 18. She was telling me, one of the things I realized in the interview is that family is a really, really, really big part of her religion. And I think I've learned that overall in Hinduism, that when you're part of Hinduism, religion is something that is really important, and then with religion you link family. And so to me, that was really important. Her name and everything was chosen and based upon family values, religious values, and I felt that was really cool, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to study Hinduism. It's a very, very interesting religion. And so the movie, before I go. So the movie I watched was called Karma, and it was about a lady who, I guess in India there is no divider, like how we have regular dividers. They use cement blocks. And so with the cement blocks, they had them set up as a divider, and people were going to make illegal U-turns, and they were moving the blocks. Well, a lady and her daughter made the illegal U-turn that night, or a driver did, and hit the lady. So somebody on a motorcycle, because only motorcycles could do it, and they didn't move the block back. And so she started going around and reenacting karma. So everyone who moved the block, they were a victim of some type of brutal murder that nobody could ever figure out why or how it happened. And it was mainly because of karma, because the lady wanted to know who killed her daughter, which it turns out her husband did. And so the way she reaped karma on her own husband was, instead of killing him because he missed his family so much, she just said, I'm not going to kill you. You're going to have to stay here and live without us. So that was actually kind of interesting. And like I said, karma is something that's really big, and it's one of the core beliefs of Hinduism and religion, and in general, as somebody who is part of Hinduism. And so last but not least, with the last minute, I would like to express I learned a lot, so much about Hinduism. I react differently to the kids. A lot of them come in here with the red dots and certain symbols that show that they practice Hinduism and their families do. And my approach to them is so different. And I have so much respect because Hinduism is a pretty cool culture, and it's something that, it entices the family as a whole. And I find that really, really interesting. And this project really, 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 really showed me, like, at my previous college, you don't just study different religions and go over the negatives and positives and compare it to your own. It's more so when you study them in detail, you learn a lot, and I wouldn't take it back. All right. Have a good day, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.